Tibetan Thangka paintings have never been conceived or produced in the context of art as we understand it. Instead, they have always been seen as essential means to convey information on iconography and lineage essential for a Vajrayana Buddhist practitioner. Understandably, most Thangkas were almost always housed in monasteries. Close to the great stupa of Badrinath in Nepal is Shechen Monastery, one of the largest and most beautiful outside Tibet. It serves to re-establish the rich and unique traditions, rituals, and art practices of the original Shechen Monastery that was destroyed during the Chinese occupation of Tibet. At the philosophical college within the monastery, traditional forms of intellectual debate still survive. Students excitedly challenge each other by posing metaphysical questions that interrogate the very nature of being. Buddhism has been an educational movement from the very beginning, always propelling the aspirant towards enlightened understanding. It is for this reason that the Buddhists harness the arts and develop them as liberating devices. In many ways, art is one of the driving forces of the Buddhist religion. It is not an isolated activity, but one deeply integrated with Buddhist practice.
Sacred art is slightly different from ordinary art, which is the expression of one's individuality, one's imaginations, one's intuition and emotions. Here, it is deeply based on the concept of compassion. The goal of the path is to relieve suffering, to bring happiness to all sentient beings without distinction between friends, enemies and strangers. So while the artist is painting, he or she has to have that all the time in mind, this altruistic, very open mind. He or she has to recite mantras, dedicate his work for the benefit of beings.
Artists have to follow very strict principles during the creation of Thangkas. The proportions, colors, symbols, and details of the deities have to be perfectly accurate and authentic. The Buddha, it is said, has perfect proportions for an enlightened being. It is the responsibility of the artist to be exact, as Thangkas are used as visual support during meditation. Since a beginner cannot arbitrarily visualize a deity, he needs this assistance.
The reason that we meditate on a deity is the need to understand the true nature of the world. This can be achieved by visualizing oneself as a deity. It allows us to realize the Buddha nature in oneself and the potentiality for Buddhahood that is in all of us.
Thangkas are intended to draw us in, give us refuge, and ultimately open a window into another reality. These images also help us to confront our own fears and conquer our own negativity by laying them out graphically in front of us.
Sometimes you'll be surprised to find wrathful deities, almost look like demons with big eyes, showing their teeth. It looks angry, it's nothing to do with anger. Beings try to be happy, but they do everything to get the opposite, suffering, by their action, by their thoughts, by their words. So now to wake them up, the Buddha manifests a very strong compassion in the form of a forceful expression. It's just the exasperation of compassion. Outside Tibet, a little over 100,000 Tibetans are in exile. So it's a very heavy responsibility on their shoulder to preserve that heritage. We are not studying a dead tradition. There are still great philosophers, great meditators, great artists, great dancers, great musicians alive. We have the complete tradition. But next generation, there might not be. So this is not just the heritage of 6 million Tibetans. It's part of the world heritage. And therefore it's worth to be saved. We must save it.
Sala